When introducing black crown colony to a breeding environment, if initially there'll be a bit of a chasing about to decide who's having which hen, which part of the aviary that they're going to build the nest. But this all settles down after a couple of days, and then each pair goes their own way and get on with the job of building the nests. When you put these birds together out of a breeding season, they're very close, follow each other about, sit close together. Really nice sight to see them. Change the conifer branches now. Looks a bit better. This bird you can see is the single bird from the earlier clutch. It's on its way through the molt at the moment. You can see the beak colours just starting to change. It's getting its few flashes of red on its flanks, and as you can see, it's looking after itself very well now. This is one of the chicks with its parent. You might see the pink ring on its parent. This is a bird that you saw earlier. Obviously we're 12 months on from that stage. As you can see, that young bird which were nice last year is now feather plucked, unfortunately. Here's the gold breast with its mate in the basket. They're not sat on eggs, it's just I think gold breasts have a tendency to roost in the afternoon. They find their way into a basket or a box and just have a little rest in there. Here's the gold breast just feeding a couple of the chicks. Now that most of the seeding grasses have gone, I hang these bunches of red anjou millet sprays up. As you can see, these are popular not just with the black crowns but other birds as well. This is the mother hen with a bent leg at the bottom. That's the only reason I kept her. She's still a good hen, she still breeds plenty of birds. This little cock that's laid across the perch is a stroppy little so-and-so, and the one outside of him is a young hen. If you look at them closely, you can see how much further the little cock's blue comes down its chest. Although it's not good, it's you can see them all blue under the wing to the chest area. These are things to look for if you're picking these birds out from somewhere and there's quite a lot of them together. Young cocks can resemble hens at this stage. I mean, they've still got the black beak here, but for quite a while they still look like that, but with the beak of an adult before the red cheek patch ever comes. Here the chicks are trying to get him to feed them. As you can see, the little black crown is further advanced than the blue caps. Sorry, this little bit's a bit out of focus. see he's still feeding the babies. Although this young cordon blue's preening them, they would often go to the other birds to begging for food, but I never actually saw them feeding them. As you can see, this black crown's enjoying the red millet sprays. It's far more popular than the Chinese stuff. I don't know why, but just seem to enjoy it more. To me, it looks fresher altogether. They'll usually eat this stuff before any other finch seed, but you have to take it off them once they're old enough, because they'll gorge themselves on this at the expense of everything else that you're giving them. So you have to limit it. But while chicks are just learning to feed, this is ideal when you can't get the seeding grasses. I was told this goldbreast, when I got him, had chicks for its previous owner. Obviously he's a good little bird. Just why he left his own, I don't know. Here you can see one of the little blue-capped chicks. It's found its way onto the last of the seeding grasses, and it's starting to feed itself. This is always a good sign. Not be long before it's sampling other seed, as well as it's obviously being topped up by its foster parents. There were a few places where he attempted to feed them. One was on a nest box, the other was on a platform which I use for a shaded area. It's just there. While all this is going on, the cordon blues in the aviary are carrying on breeding. Here are two of the youngsters again, which are now going through the molt. In fact, they're forming a brother and sister bond, which I shall have to break up before the next breeding season. These birds never interrupted with anything that were happening, just minded their own business. Here's the cockbird, which is the parent again. As you can see, he's in very good condition. If in an aviary situation like this, it's easy to give them a bath every day, and they'll enjoy a bath every day. Keep the feathers nice and clean. As you can see, he's still in excellent condition, considering that he's already had 2 clutches of chicks, and he's got some more on the way. The cock again. Well, this is the hen actually, but the cock's in there with her having a little rest. This is his own nest box, but There's no eggs in here at the moment, they're just having a little rest. Here's the young black crown and the blue cap again. I know the blue cap's hen. I don't know what sex the black crown is, but I would imagine this is a cock. As you can see, these little birds are chasing him to feed him. Picture's not great, but this is where he were feeding them quite a lot. As you can see, they keep pecking him to feed them. This little cock cordon blue is going to be joined in a minute by a young hen. As you can see, he's only a baby, but watch how his head feathers change and how his eyes change as she sidles up to him. You see it there? Again, this is brother and sister. Somebody's been over preening her just above the top of her beak there, on top of her head. Again, this is one of the little blue caps. Blue cap hen. As you can see, there's very little blue on its chest, a little blue under the wing area. It's going to be joined shortly by a young hen cordon blue, and again you'll see the same thing. As you can see, very little blue from the wing to chest area. Although they'll often be found feeding on these bunches of seeding grasses which I put in for them, and also the red anjou spray, they tend to feed more on the floor, and there's more chance that you perhaps find them below this bunch of grass where all the little seeds have dropped, picking it up from the floor. Like these seeding grasses and the little millet sprays, it's usually what the little chicks pick up first. Gives them a good start in life. Nice and soft for them. Cordon bleu waxbills are regular breeders. They'll breed under all sorts of situations, cages, in aviaries. They're usually a dominant species to many of the others, so they will do well. Just why people have difficulty breeding this species, I don't know. Both this, the cordon bleu, and the blue cap, very reliable breeders. The only thing I will say is you don't expect them to breed in canary sized cages. They're not big enough. Coming up is a bit in a minute where it's feeding both of them. You can see the different begging postures. Although this bird is badly feather plucked, it doesn't stop it from being a good breeding bird. This is the violet-eared hen again. I didn't have these birds very long. I just had them for 3 months during the hottest weather. I just got them to have a look at. As it were, they were perfectly behaved. They weren't a bit of trouble. So I didn't really see any of the bickering. This is the young single black crowned we've seen earlier. And a bit of bobbing up and down. Is that lovely cock, cordon bleu. This is how he keeps his feathers in such good condition. Looks a bit of a mess at the moment, but they do enjoy having a bath. Some of the other birds just preening themselves. One's having a little sleep. You can see these little black crown waxbills are coming on champion. Here the violet ear cock is displaying. Seems part of their behaviour, which the cocks seem to do. The hens thing with this species, I say I don't know a lot about them. As you can see, that hen's beak's not right. It should be similar colour to the cock's when it's in peak of condition. She's looking for a feather. She's doing a little bit of dance in a minute. This cockbird's quite gentle compared to the grenadier we saw earlier. Here she is displaying again. The cock's tail just looks like it's being blown with the wind. She's looking for a particular piece of straw to play about with. It always has to be something that's just right for what they want. These birds don't seem to have a great resistance to illness. They'll be fine one day, next minute they've got their head under the wing. Especially when it turns cold. I'm sure many people in this country try and keep them on to a lower temperature, but all these waxbills like it warm. Here's one of the young blue caps from the fostered chicks we saw earlier. As you can see, it's looking a lot better than it did when they first fledged. And they're coming along nicely. Here's another one. Can't see it very well, its little pals next to it. Although it's sat near the cordon blue, this is a blue cap. And here's one of the young black crowns, and as you can see, they're coming on really well now, and they're probably close to independence. Unfortunately, I can't get everything I wanted to in this video, and I've got quite a lot more I wanted to put on. So I'm going to finish this off with some bad behaviour from this purple grenadier, and I hope if you're newcomers to Waxbills, you don't go near this species or the violet-eared until you know a lot more about them. I don't like the thought of birds killing each other, and although you can have birds which are perfectly behaved, this is common behaviour from this species. They're much more aggressive than the closely related cordon blues. Things which don't bother cordon blues, I found you can't get away with grenadiers. I had once to clean the bottom of a cage out. It only took a couple of minutes, and the cock attacked the hen. It's called displaced aggression. It was angry with me, but he attacked the hen. So I had to split them up for 24 hours. And then when I put them back together the next day to calm down again. I only had one pair of grenadiers, but I have heard that just introducing another cock into their aviary could be enough for a pair which has gone on perfectly well for one to kill the other. This went on for a lot longer than I'm showing here, and I shouldn't have really let it go on for so long, but I did want to get this down on video, because the amount of people that have had this species thinking they'd be alright with them, and got upset after this sort of behaviour, and usually ended up with a fatality. It's even had some people have packed in Waxbills altogether. What I would say is get a species that's suitable to you. These things are not suitable to me. I found them a new home not long after this, and I've gone back to the common Waxbills. I got a few of these sort of things to look at, just really so I'd heard about them and I'd seen them, but not had myself. So I had a look at them, and I'm in a bit better position to put people off these sort of birds. Cost a lot of money. The common Waxbills are still relatively cheap, and you don't get this sort of behaviour from them unless it's a bad little so and so. What eventually happened is she's down in the corner here, getting out of his way. She's having a rest. He'll be having a bit of a rest, and not long after this he'll be starting again. And it's such a shame. I found this upsetting because she's a lovely little bird. As you can see, there he is. He'll be going again shortly for her. Looking at him there, you wouldn't think butter would melt in his mouth. I hope if this video does nothing else, I hope it puts you off these species. It's just too upsetting. What happens in the wild I don't know. They must. I mean, obviously they've got a lot more space to get out of each other's way. When we've got them caged up like this, or even in an aviary, it can soon it can soon find her and get at her again. Here he goes again. As you can see, he's after her again. And I'll leave you with this, where I'm just about to put the petition in. There's the petition in now. What I've just realised is, when I mentioned earlier that I'd cleaned a cage out, I didn't mean I'd cleaned their cage out. All I did was clean a cage out in the bird room. Obviously I wouldn't have cleaned their cage out with them in a nesting situation anyway. I'm hoping I can put the rest of the things onto another tape that I wanted to put on here. Perhaps go into a bit more detail.